Developers should strive towards moving the workplace past being diverse, to focus on making them more inclusive instead. That was the talking point. DURI NGGDC 2019 earlier this afternoon, where several developers shared their personal and professional perspectives for building an inclusive game studio culture. They advised how fellow devs can change their studio cultures to be more welcoming and supportive of underrepresented employees. The Director of Marketing and Communication at E3 Games Foundation, Kat went beyond by highlighting the importance of retaining diverse developers once they are brought into the mix. Incorporated solution is active and ongoing, not performative or temporary. It involves not just hiring, but also retention. Tolerating is not the same. She led her fellow PANELISTSAC Loud, technical producer at Hairbrained Schemes, Alexandra Lucas, independent writer and narrative designer, Sonia Michaels, Japan Institute of Technology, and Chris Wright, test manager at Bunny, into a discussion about inclusion by posing several questions. Why do studios need to care about diversity and inclusivity efforts? There is no single default type of human being. We need to invite the broad variety of people to work alongside each other. Michaels began. Lau chimed in, noting that there is not just one type of developer either. In order to fully make a product that's inclusive, you need to have people in studios that are inclusive and diverse. Those things go together. We need to get people in the door who are best able to tell different stories. Hiring is one way to do that. Lucas said. What are the biggest challenges facing diversity and inclusivity at studios today? That's kind of where it stops, Wright said, referring to diversity initiatives. If you just focus on getting people in, and do not look at your studio culture and broaden it, you are going to have the same problem tech have also seen. You hire lots of diverse people without making them feel welcome and they leave. There's also the fact that the distribution of labor usually follows upon the marginalized employees. The work that is done to make a studio inclusive is often voluntary. Lau added, I think this is part of the retention problem. If a studio wants to make a point of doing diversity and inclusion work, where should they start? Talk to the underrepresented developers at your studio, Lau suggested. Actually try to help people by finding out what their needs are. Find out what the actual problems are and then ask what the members of your studio want to see and then figure out the path to get there. You have to work with your leadership groups, Wright added. The leaders often set the studio culture, so it's important to find out if they will be allies, or potentially help them build empathy for groups they might not be familiar with. It takes a lot of work to get something like this going. Some folks do great consulting work in this area. Wayne said, you do not have to add this work to your devs. It can also be helpful to bring in people and pay them to do that work. Developers who have any level of privilege need to be mindful of how they use their voice. Be prepared to fail, learn from mistakes, and do better. How do you reach the employees who are least receptive to inclusion? It begins by building empathy with those who are least receptive to inclusion. It's not easy. It's going to take a lot of work, said Wright. For inclusion to really work, you are going to have difficult conversations. It's necessary if you are going to build that empathy. I'd be interested to know why they are not receptive to it, Lau admitted. Do they need additional training? Do they need to develop more empathy? From there, once we understand what the problem is, it's easier to approach. Consider that people who are less receptive are also different people, with different backgrounds. knowing when and how to pitch your next big project to someone outside the team. A publisher, for example, is key to consistent success in the game industry, but it's tricky to learn any other way than through hard-won experience. Luckily, lots of experienced game industry professionals will be at the AGAME Developers Conference in March to share knowledge, including Finji chief Rebecca Saltzman, who's actually giving a great talk about the best way to pitch a publisher. So you are ready to pitch to a publisher. You are not, is the talk. Part of the DD 2019 Independent Game Summit, and it's something you want to see given that Saltzman has seen the problem many times. From both sides, she will show you how Finji builds and uses pitch documents, kit art and gameplay videos. You will also learn the difference between prototypes, gameplay mechanic tests, and vertical slices and why publishers want them. Because of the disconnect between the business and creative sides of development, devs often find themselves in a business development role without understanding the way this part of the industry works. This talk aims to help combat that by equipping you with practical advice you can use to pitch your next project. Do not skip it. Further details on this talk and many more are available now on THEGDC 2019 session scheduler. There you can begin to lay out your GD 2019, which takes place March 18th through the 22nd at the newly renovated Moscone Center in San Francisco. Bring your team to GD. Register a group of 10 or more and save 10% on conference passes. Learn more. For more details on GDC 2019, visit the show's official website, or subscribe to regular updates via Facebook, Twitter, OS. Gamasutra and DD are sibling organizations under parent company Informa. If you have any interest in level design, you will want to check out the popular level design workshop at the 2019 Game Developers Conference next month, where you will get a chance to learn from folks who have worked on everything from big-budget blockbusters to resting indie games. Notably, if crafting believable, authentic levels where it feels like real people live and work is important to you, check out the DD 2019 Design Track talk on Hitman Levels as Social Spaces, the social anthropology of level design. Presented by IO Interactive Level Designer Matty Poe and Fontanderson. This level design workshop session will consist of 3 sections. First, Matt will cover framing and the analysis that sparked a change in the way the Hitman 2 team approached level design. Next, he will present an analysis of what happens when you look at game spaces as social spaces, and how that played out in the pre-production design of the levels in Hitman 2. Finally, Matt will discuss how the results of this exercise resulted in joining some new phrases and concepts that affected Hitman 2 from pre-production onward. For more details on this and many more talk, check out THEGDC 2019 session scheduler. There you can begin to lay out your GD 2019, which takes place March 18th through the 22nd at the newly renovated Moscone Center in San Francisco. Bring your team to GD. Register a group of 10 or more and save 10% on conference passes. Learn more. For more details on GDC 2019, visit the show's official website, or subscribe to regular updates via Facebook, Twitter, OS. Gamasutra and DD are sibling organizations under parent company Informa. Oxford Internet Institute Director of Research and Lead Researcher, Andrew Przybylski details the findings of the study. Researchers at the University of Oxford's Oxford Internet Institute have published the findings of a study into the relationship between aggressive behavior in teens and violent video games, finding that, in short, no link exists. The study subject itself is not no ground, by any means. But Oxford researchers say that their case has a few notable differences from past studies that, according to the university, make it one of the most definitive to date. The paper, which can be found in its entirety on Royal Society Open Science, collected data from a representative sample of British 14 and 15-year-olds, as well as from their caretakers, totaling 2,008 participants in all. Both parties answered a series of questions provided by researchers, with the teenage participants answering the questionnaire on their personality and video game habits, while caretakers answered the strengths and difficulties questionnaire. Games were also classified according to PAL ratings, rather than participant-defined content descriptions, following the pre-registered analysis plan. Multiple regression analyses tested the hypothesis that recent violent gameplay is linearly and positively related to care assessments of aggressive behavior, reads the paper. Results did not support this prediction, nor did they support the idea that the relationship between these factors follows a nonlinear parabolic function. There was no evidence for a critical tipping point relating violent game engagement to aggressive behavior. Researchers also note that, unlike other studies on the subject,